1995 would be an interesting time for video games. The Nintendo Entertainment System was officially discontinued, Sony would release the PlayStation, and Sega would release the Saturn. Nintendo had tried to spice up the aging Game Boy by releasing the Play It Loud series, which were just different colors but successful nonetheless. With the success of the Nintendo Entertainment System, Super Nintendo Entertainment System, and the Game Boy, Nintendo felt comfortable to release an incredibly forward-thinking console that would deliver 32-bit stereoscopic 3D gameplay to the masses. It would be called the Virtual Boy and be Nintendo's submission for the 32-bit era of consoles. Contrary to its namesake, the Virtual Boy is not portable like the Game Boy. It does have its own built-in display and can be powered by batteries, but it does require a table and the user to be sitting a specific way in order to work effectively. The Virtual Boy would be released in 1995 and be discontinued in 1996 and only have 22 games worldwide. 20 years later, the Virtual Boy is a blemish on Nintendo's timeline, but the collectability of the Curious system remains high. This is an offshoot of Retronomics where I not only reviewed the system, but give you an analysis of pricing trends to determine if prices will rise, fall, or stay the same. So should you buy a Virtual Boy now or wait? Let's take a look. So let's start out with the system itself. The Virtual Boy has all of its processing display in the head of the unit. It has a knob at the top of the unit for adjusting the lenses to focus for each user. There is also foam padding to cup around the user's face and to provide a dark area. There are speakers for sound, but using headphones is preferred. The games run on cartridges and fit into the slot of the system. The cartridges themselves have dust covers, but where do you store the dust covers? On the system, of course. There are 2 slots at the top of the system that will hold the dust cover in place until it's time to store the game away. The head rests on a metal stand that can be removed for easy storing. The stand is sturdy to prevent the head from falling over. Now let's take a look at the controller. The Virtual Boy controller is one of Nintendo's most unique controllers. There are 2 D-pads on either side and 4 face buttons: Select, Start, B, and A. Then on the back of the controller there are 2 shoulder buttons that kind of act like triggers. While the content is 3D, it's not free roaming like Super Mario 64, so the D-pads on each side work in this situation. The controller plugs into the system and powers the unit. The battery pack or optional AC unit plugs into the controller, and there's a power switch on the controller itself. Without the battery pack or AC unit, the system will not power on. I don't have the battery pack, but I prefer the AC adapter since I never have to track down the 6 AA batteries. No system would be any good without some games, and there aren't a lot to go over here. Given the fact that it was only available for 1 year, there aren't a lot of games for the Virtual Boy. There are 22 games available total, and only 14 of those are in the United States. The most expensive game for the system is Jack Brothers, and the lowest being Virtual League Baseball. The system did come with a pack-in title, Mario Tennis, which is the first in the series. And it's also home to the only game featuring Nestor, the punky teen featured in Nintendo Power comics for a number of years. Most of the games do a poor job showcasing the Virtual Boy's 3D effect, and the monochrome red and black doesn't do it any favors either. Perhaps the most bizarre game for the system is Waterworld, which is a shooting game based on the movie starring Kevin Costner. But there are some gems for the system. Wario Land introduces some interesting power moves, and the game makes use of 3D by sending Wario to the back of the screen, but that's about it. Tellero Boxer is my favorite game for the Virtual Boy since it uses the triggers on the back and puts you in the point of view of the robot. Mario Clash is an updated version of Mario Brothers which uses the 3D depth to an otherwise flat game. Jack Brothers is the most uncommon game, fetching almost $350 for a loose US copy, and it's probably the most interesting. You play as one of the 3 Jack Brothers, Jack Frost, Jack Lantern, or Jack Skeleton, and need to return to the fairy world. You make your way down to each level, but the 3D effect is only a gimmick like the other games, and there aren't many puzzles that require 3D to be solved. It also is the first of the Megami Tensei franchise to be released outside of Japan. I don't think this game would be as expensive if it didn't have that Atlas logo on it. The rest of the games are sports titles or puzzle games like Tetris and are available on multiple platforms, and the gameplay remains the same. Now let's talk about the reliability of the Virtual Boy. The Virtual Boy is 20 years old, and like most old systems, they're prone to breakdown. The most common issue with the Virtual Boy is the display. The lenses are attached to the circuit board with glue, and the glue has a habit of coming loose over time, resulting in lines on the screen or no display at all. Now this is a very easy fix that requires the Virtual Boy to be taken apart using a custom hex bolt and rubbing the soldering iron across the area where the ribbon meets the board. Just be careful that the soldering iron isn't too hot, or you'll end up like me and accidentally poking a hole through the ribbon. There are other solutions like baking it in an oven or taking solder and permanently fixing the lens to the board. There are also issues with the stand being prone to breaking. While the legs are made out of metal, the top clip that holds the stand on is made of plastic. There's no official replacement part, but people have been making 3D printed solutions to offer repair. Other than that, the Virtual Boy system should last for years under normal use. The Virtual Boy is becoming more difficult to buy with all its original parts, so the price of the Virtual Boy has increased over the years. When I got mine, I traded a PSP and received 4 complete in-box games, the system, controller, stand, and AC adapter, plus the guy gave me $40 for my trouble. After the system was discontinued, you can actually get these for $25 new from KB Toys. And that was 10 years ago, so now they're a little bit more sought after. If you're patient, you can get everything you need plus some loose games for about $150. Just be sure that it comes with an AC adapter or battery pack, or you're just buying a paperweight. The price of this system was very high last year, peaking at about $250 loose. It's down to a much more appropriate price and seems to be declining just a little bit. The games themselves range from impulse purchase all the way to I just spent rent on a video game territory. A complete set will cost you about $829 for loose copies and $1,500 if you want to get everything complete in the box. There was a flash cart made for the Virtual Boy, but those are very hard to find, and I don't really think that the person makes them anymore. I did reach out to them, but they didn't respond by the time that this video was made. So while the Virtual Boy is on the decline, the games are actually increasing. Jack Brothers to me doesn't seem like it would be worth the price, but maybe it'll drop to $250 again and I'll consider it. The system is also region free, so if you don't mind the Japanese text, Jack Brothers is well under its US price if you want to play it the way that it was meant to be played. But if you're just looking to see what Virtual Boy games are, I would just emulate them. None of them are system sellers, and while I do enjoy my Virtual Boy, I can only stand it for about an hour before my neck gets sore and my eyes start to hurt. Overall, the Virtual Boy will have its place in history, but unless you're a hardcore collector, it's not really worth it to own. The maintenance required will prevent casual users from just picking one up. The game library has very few notable titles worth making the Virtual Boy a powerhouse. Other consoles that don't have notoriety at least were sold long enough to build up a quality library. It does look really cool on a shelf, and it is fun to show people what virtual reality was like in 1995, so there's that. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked this video, hit that like button, and if you're new here, I plan on doing more of these system overview videos in the future, so you'll want to consider subscribing for future content. I'm Super Nintendo, and I'll see you next time.